Welcome to Dragon from the West, where epic stories from my books come alive. Subscribe for more fantasy adventures.
Chapter 6. Thunder Tiger Awakening. The dimensional crystal sits on my kitchen table like a captured star, pulsing with energy that makes reality hiccup around its edges. Even through the lead-lined container, I can feel its influence on the spiritual energy in my apartment. Electronics flicker, my ancient refrigerator hums with unusual harmonics, and the cockroaches have apparently decided to relocate somewhere less dimensionally unstable. I've been studying the Storm Tiger Claw manual for 6 hours straight, and my mind feels like it's trying to process information written in a language my brain wasn't designed to understand. The techniques described are beautiful in their complexity, flowing movements that transition seamlessly from defensive spirals to explosive striking combinations. But they're also completely different from my Thunderpath foundation. Where Thunderpath emphasizes linear power projection and instantaneous acceleration, Storm Tiger flows like water, finding the path of least resistance. Where Thunderpath techniques end in devastating finality, Storm Tiger forms cycle endlessly into new configurations. Integration challenge detected, the system notes. Host's current neural pathways optimized for lightning-based cultivation. Storm Tiger requires fundamental adjustment to movement philosophy. How long to achieve basic competency? Normal circumstances, 6 to 12 months for elementary proficiency. With dimensional crystal enhancement, 3 to 4 days for basic integration, 2 to 3 weeks for combat effectiveness. 3 days. I call in sick for Monday, claiming food poisoning from a questionable noodle stand. Boss Lou's irritated response suggests my credibility is wearing thin, but I can't worry about employment when I'm on the verge of a cultivation breakthrough. I clear every piece of furniture from my apartment's main room, creating a practice space barely large enough for the Storm Tiger forms. The manual emphasizes that proper learning requires unity of mind, body, and spirit, which apparently means attempting these movements while channeling spiritual energy through unfamiliar meridian pathways. The first form is called Prowling Thunder Tiger, a deceptively simple sequence that begins with a low stance reminiscent of stalking prey and flows through what the manual describes as 17 variations of predatory positioning. I attempt the opening stance and immediately understand why this technique complements Thunderpath cultivation. The low, coiled posture stores potential energy like a compressed spring, while the hand positions naturally channel electrical chi through meridians I'd never accessed before. But when I try to transition into the second movement, everything goes wrong. My Thunderpath muscle memory expects explosive linear motion. Storm Tiger demands fluid rotation. The result is a jerky, uncoordinated stumble that sends me crashing into my kitchen counter, knocking over the rice cooker and probably disturbing Mrs. Chen's afternoon nap. Movement integration failure detected. Recommendation: begin with meditation fusion before attempting physical forms. Right, I'm trying to learn a completely different martial philosophy while my body is optimized for a different approach. Like trying to write calligraphy with my non-dominant hand while riding a motorcycle. I sit in lotus position and unwrap the dimensional crystal for the first time in my apartment. The effect is immediate and overwhelming. Reality becomes negotiable. The walls of my tiny space seem to stretch into vast distances, while simultaneously feeling claustrophobically close. My spiritual energy, normally a steady flow through established pathways, explodes into chaotic abundance that threatens to tear my meridians apart. I grit my teeth and force the energy back into controlled circulation, but instead of following my usual Thunderpath patterns, I guide it through the meridian routes described in the Storm Tiger manual. The sensation is like learning to breathe with different lungs, fundamentally wrong on an instinctive level, but gradually becoming natural through repetition. Hours pass. The boundary between Thunderpath and Storm Tiger begins to blur as my spiritual energy learns to flow through both systems simultaneously. Where the techniques intersect, something new emerges, combinations that exist in neither manual but feel perfectly natural when executed. Breakthrough detected. Hybrid cultivation method achieved. New classification. Thunder Tiger Path. Unique synthesis of lightning projection and beast flow techniques. Stage 3 advancement accelerated due to technique integration. The transformation begins without warning. One moment I'm sitting in meditation, managing the integration of 2 different martial traditions. The next, every cell in my body ignites with evolutionary pressure. Body refinement stage 3 isn't like the previous stages. Instead of gradual improvement, my entire physiology restructures itself according to some cosmic blueprint. My bones become denser than steel while remaining flexible. My muscles develop new fiber arrangements that allow for both explosive power and fluid grace. My nervous system upgrades to handle electrical loads that would vaporize normal tissue. But it's the changes to my spiritual system that truly amaze me. My meridians expand and multiply, creating new pathways for energy circulation. My dantian, the core energy storage area described in cultivation literature, develops from a simple reservoir into something resembling a miniature thunderstorm contained within my body. When the transformation completes, I'm no longer entirely human. I stand and move through the first storm tiger form. This time, my body flows like liquid lightning, each movement perfectly balanced between thunder path explosiveness and storm tiger grace. The technique feels natural now, as if I've been practicing it for years instead of hours. Body refinement stage 3, complete. New abilities unlocked. Enhanced physical capabilities, superhuman, lightning armor, basic, storm tiger forms, 1 to 12, spiritual energy projection. Current power level, equivalent to C-class hunter. Warning, concealing capabilities from normal humans now extremely difficult. I test my new abilities carefully, starting with basic movement. A simple step carries me 3 meters across the room with no conscious effort. When I tap the wall experimentally, my finger leaves a crack in the concrete. Most remarkably, electricity now flows across my skin like a living aurora, providing both defense and intimidation. The mirror shows someone I barely recognize. Same face, but my eyes now flash with golden lightning when my power activates. My hair floats in an invisible electrical field, and my skin has developed a subtle luminous quality that suggests barely contained energy. I look like what people imagine when they think of cultivators from legend. Which creates obvious problems for maintaining my mundane identity. My phone rings, jarring me from contemplation of my new capabilities. Zhang, you sound different. Lu Mei's voice carries concern mixed with professional interest. Everything all right? Define all right. I just achieved a cultivation breakthrough that's probably going to complicate my life significantly. Ah, one of those weeks. Her laugh suggests familiarity with supernatural advancement problems. Want to test your new capabilities somewhere safe? I might have an opportunity that suits your current situation. What kind of opportunity? Team contract. 3-person job clearing a persistent tear that's been giving the Hunter Association trouble. Off books, good pay, chance to work with experienced practitioners who understand discretion. Teamwork. I've been operating solo since discovering my abilities, but cultivators traditionally worked in groups for major undertakings. Plus, my financial situation could use another injection. The weekend's purchases depleted most of my arena winnings. What's the target? B-class tear in an abandoned factory complex. Keeps reopening every few days, spitting out low-grade entities that scatter before official response teams arrive. Local government wants it handled quietly to avoid property value impacts. B-class tear, significantly more dangerous than anything I've faced, but potentially offering better rewards and advancement opportunities. Who's the team? Me, obviously. Plus a Hunter Association dropout named Wei Long, fire specialist with an attitude problem but excellent combat skills. You'd be our mobility and crowd control specialist. Working with other practitioners. The idea both excites and terrifies me. On one hand, learning from experienced fighters could accelerate my development. On the other hand, my hybrid Thunder Tiger style might draw uncomfortable questions about my training background. Team combat recommended, the system advises. Solo cultivation has natural limits. Group operations provide exposure to different techniques and tactical approaches. Payment, 15,000 yuan per person, plus any monster parts we can harvest. Should be a 2-day job including preparation and cleanup. 15,000 yuan, combined with harvested materials, enough to fund my next round of advancement purchases and maybe start looking for better living arrangements. When and where? Tomorrow night for initial reconnaissance. Meet at the underground, preparation room B. Come armed and ready for extended combat operations. After she hangs up, I spend the evening testing my new capabilities more thoroughly. The integration of Thunderpath and Storm Tiger has created possibilities neither tradition offered alone. I can now move like flowing water, then explode into lightning-fast strikes without transitional pause. My electrical abilities have evolved beyond simple palm techniques into full-body manifestations, armor, weapons, even basic telekinetic manipulation of conductive materials. Most importantly, I can feel my advancement continuing even without active cultivation. Stage 3 body refinement seems to be an ongoing process rather than a discrete achievement, constantly adapting my physiology for greater supernatural capability. But it's the psychological changes that concern me most. The predatory confidence I noticed after stage 2 has intensified into something approaching arrogance. When I look at normal humans now, I see fragile creatures made of meat and delusion. The empathy that once made their struggles feel personal has faded into detached observation. I'm becoming something other than human. The question is whether I can retain enough of my original personality to avoid becoming a monster in human form. Personality drift is normal during major advancement stages, the system notes. Previous Zhang family cultivators experienced similar psychological adjustment periods. Recommend maintaining connections to human concerns until stabilization occurs. Connections to human concerns. Like my job at the construction site, which I can no longer perform without constant risk of exposure. Like my neighbors, whose problems now seem trivial compared to interdimensional threats. Like the life I've built over 27 years, which feels increasingly like a costume I'm ready to discard. Tomorrow I'll work with a team to clear a B-class tear. A week ago, such a proposition would have seemed impossible. Now it feels like natural progression. The grind continues, but I'm no longer sure what I'm grinding toward. Power, certainly. Advancement, obviously. But power for what purpose? Advancement toward what end? My family's notes speak of cultivators who achieved immortality, who transcended human limitations to become something approaching gods. Is that my ultimate goal? And if so, what happens to the parts of me that are still recognizably human? Questions for later contemplation. Right now, I need to prepare for tomorrow's mission and figure out how to explain another absence to Boss Lu. After all, grinding never hurt anyone. But it's starting to hurt the person I used to be. Advanced stage achievement. Thunder Tiger Cultivator. Recommendation. Begin considering long-term cultivation goals beyond simple power acquisition. Next phase. Team integration and tactical development. The system is right. It's time to think beyond individual advancement and consider my place in the larger supernatural ecosystem. But first, I have a tear to clear and teammates to impress. Time to see what Thunder Tiger Cultivation can accomplish in actual combat operations. The hunt continues, and I'm starting to enjoy being the predator. Chapter 7, Hyena Guild. The abandoned factory complex squats in Beijing's industrial wasteland like a concrete tumor, its broken windows and rust-stained walls telling stories of economic collapse and urban decay. But it's the spatial distortion hovering above the main building that transforms the place from merely depressing to genuinely threatening, a wound in reality that pulses with malevolent energy every 30 seconds, like a cosmic heartbeat counting down to something catastrophic. Beautiful, isn't it? Lu Mei's voice carries dark appreciation as she surveys the scene through military-grade binoculars. B-class tear, persistent manifestation, and completely ignored by official channels because it's not immediately threatening civilian populations. We're positioned on a hill overlooking the complex, hidden among the scrub vegetation that's reclaimed this section of Beijing's industrial graveyard. 2 days of reconnaissance have revealed a pattern. The tier opens every 6 hours, disgorges 3 to 5 entities, then seals itself before Hunter Association sensors can register the anomaly. The entities, mostly D and C class based on our observations, scatter immediately after emergence, making them nearly impossible to track through conventional means. By the time official response teams arrive, they find nothing but an empty factory and rapidly fading dimensional signatures. Smart predators, comments Wei Long, our third team member. He's a lean man in his early 30s with burn scars covering his left arm and the kind of focused intensity that comes from surviving too many life or death situations. They're not just randomly manifesting. Something's coordinating them. Wei Long's background reads like a cautionary tale about Hunter Association politics. Former B-class hunter with fire specialization, drummed out of service after questioning orders during a civilian evacuation. According to Lu Mei, he's bitter about authority figures but absolutely lethal in combat situations. Coordination implies intelligence, I observe, studying the tear's manifestation patterns. But most entities from unstable rifts are barely sentient predators. Most, Lu Mei agrees. But B-class tiers occasionally produce entities that retain memories and strategic thinking from their home dimensions. If something like that is organizing the dispersal patterns. She doesn't finish the sentence, but the implication is clear. We're not just dealing with random monster spawns, we're facing an intelligent opponent that's using the factory as a staging ground for some larger purpose. Combat analysis suggests coordinated deployment rather than random emergence, the system confirms. Recommendation: assume hostile intelligence and plan accordingly. What's our approach? Wei Long asks, checking his equipment with practiced efficiency. His gear includes modified flamethrowers, thermite charges, and what looks like a military-grade fire suppression suit retrofitted for supernatural combat. Lu Mei produces a tactical tablet displaying the factory's layout. Three-pronged approach. Zhang, your mobility makes you perfect for reconnaissance and crowd control. Get inside, identify the coordination source, and keep the scattered entities from flanking us. I take point on the tear itself, Wei Long continues. Fire suppression techniques can destabilize dimensional rifts if applied correctly. Won't close it permanently, but should disrupt the manifestation cycle long enough for cleanup. And I provide overwatch and tactical coordination, Lu Mei finishes. Plus extraction support if things go sideways. It's a solid plan, but I can't shake the feeling we're missing something important. The tear's behavior is too regular, too purposeful. Random dimensional instability doesn't follow 6-hour cycles. Equipment check, Lu Mei orders. I inventory my gear, basic tactical vest, combat knife, first aid supplies, and the lead-lined container holding my dimensional crystal for emergency power boosts. My primary weapons are integrated into my cultivation. Thunder Tiger techniques don't require external tools, though having backup options never hurts. Wei Long's equipment resembles a small military arsenal specialized for fire-based supernatural combat. Lu Mei's loadout is more subtle but equally impressive: concealed weapons, communication gear, and several items I don't recognize but suspect are quite illegal. Comms check, she continues, distributing encrypted earpieces. These are military surplus, modified for supernatural interference. Should maintain contact even near active tiers. We spend another hour reviewing contingencies, escape routes, and emergency protocols. Professional paranoia, Lu Mei calls it, the difference between experienced practitioners and corpses. As night falls, we move into position. The factory complex feels wrong even before I cross the perimeter fence. My enhanced senses detect spiritual signatures that don't belong in normal reality, traces of otherworldly presence clinging to every surface like dimensional contamination. The air tastes of copper and ozone, with undertones of something that might be sulfur if sulfur could think malevolent thoughts. In position, I whisper into my comm, crouching beside a loading dock that provides cover and multiple escape routes. Copy that, Lu Mei responds. Wei Long, status, approaching primary target. Dimensional readings are unusual. Define unusual. The tier isn't random, it's artificial. Someone or something is maintaining it deliberately. That stops us cold. Artificial tiers are theoretically possible but require resources and expertise that exist only in government laboratories and the darkest corners of supernatural research. If someone is manufacturing dimensional rifts for their own purposes. Orders. I ask, though I suspect I already know the answer. Mission continues, but elevated threat assessment. Zhang, begin reconnaissance. We need to identify who's running this operation. I activate my spiritual concealment and slip into the main factory building through a broken window. The interior has been extensively modified since its abandonment, walls torn down to create large open spaces, floors cleared of industrial equipment, and something that looks like a ritual circle carved directly into the concrete foundation. But it's not the ritual circle that makes my blood freeze. It's the three figures standing beside it, wearing tactical gear marked with an unfamiliar insignia, a stylized hyena head surrounded by broken chains. Hyena Guild, I breathe into my comm. Lu Mei's sharp intake of breath confirms my worst suspicions. You're certain? Insignia matches. 3 operatives visible, unknown capabilities. Shit. Zhang, withdraw immediately. Hyena Guild isn't some random criminal organization, they're former Hunter Association personnel gone rogue. But even as she speaks, I realize withdrawal isn't an option. The tier above us pulses with increasing intensity, and the ritual circle begins glowing with sickly green light. Whatever they're planning, it's about to reach culmination. Hostile spiritual signatures detected, the system warns. 3 targets. Estimated C-class threat level each. Additional entities emerging from dimensional rift. The tier splits open like a wound in reality, disgorging not the usual scattered predators but something coordinated and purposeful. 6 entities emerge in formation, humanoid shapes wrapped in shadow and malice, moving with tactical precision that speaks of military training. Shadow soldiers. Entities from dimensions where warfare never ended, recruited by humans who understand their value as disposable troops. Contact. I report. 6 shadow soldiers plus 3 Hyena Guild operatives. They're not dispersing, they're forming up for coordinated assault. Target assessment. Wei Long's voice crackles with combat readiness. Unknown. But whatever their planning requires, the factory is a staging ground. The lead Hyena Guild operative, a woman with lieutenant's insignia and the kind of cybernetic eye modifications that cost more than I make in 5 years, begins directing the shadow soldiers with hand signals. Professional coordination, military efficiency, and absolutely no concern for collateral damage. Lu Mei, I whisper, we're outnumbered and outgunned. Recommend tactical withdrawal and Hunter Association notification. Negative. Hyena Guild operations are too sensitive for official channels. If we don't stop this here, it escalates into something the government can't handle quietly. Of course, the political implications of rogue hunters conducting illegal dimensional experiments in Beijing would create international incidents. Better to handle it through unofficial channels, assuming we survive long enough to file reports. The shadow soldiers begin moving through the factory with practiced efficiency, spreading out to secure all exits while maintaining visual contact with each other. Their coordination is flawless, the kind of teamwork that requires months of training or supernatural mental links. I've got maybe 30 seconds before they detect my position. Going active, I whisper, then drop my spiritual concealment and channel Thunder Tiger power into my first combat application. Lightning Step carries me directly into the middle of their formation, appearing behind the rearmost shadow soldier like a bolt from clear sky. Lightning Palm connects before it can react, electrical energy disrupting whatever passes for its nervous system and dropping it to the factory floor. The remaining 5 respond with inhuman speed, flowing around my position like liquid darkness while their weapons, crystalline blades that seem to cut through space itself, slash toward my vital points. From multiple angles. But I'm no longer the desperate construction worker who fought his first arena match. Thunder Tiger Cultivation has given me options I barely understand myself. Storm Tiger Form 7, Whirling Hurricane. My body becomes a spinning vortex of electrical energy, deflecting their attacks while lightning armor absorbs impacts that do connect. The combination of defensive rotation and offensive electrical discharge creates a miniature thunderstorm centered on my position. 3 shadow soldiers retreat beyond my immediate range. 2 others press their attack, apparently immune to electrical damage. Entity analysis. Shadow soldiers possess limited electrical resistance. Recommend kinetic impact over energy projection. Right, time for the thunder half of Thunder Tiger. I drop out of whirling defense and activate Lightning Step in rapid sequence, appearing beside the first resistant shadow soldier, delivering a purely kinetic palm strike enhanced by electrical acceleration, then teleporting to the second before the first hits the ground. Both entities dissolve into wisps of darkness that dissipate like smoke. 3 down, I report through comms while the remaining shadow soldiers regroup for their next assault. Copy that. Wei Long is engaging the Hyena operatives. I'm providing fire support. The factory erupts in flames as Wei Long's attack begins. His modified flamethrowers don't just produce fire, they generate plasma streams hot enough to melt steel, directed with surgical precision to avoid structural damage while creating lethal kill zones around the Hyena positions. But the guild operatives aren't random criminals playing with stolen equipment. They're trained professionals with hunter-grade enhancements and battlefield experience. The woman with cybernetic eyes responds to Wei Long's assault by activating some kind of personal shield system that deflects his plasma streams while her teammates flank through areas he can't cover. Zhang, Lu Mei's voice cuts through the combat noise. The ritual circle, they're trying to expand the tier. She's right. While we've been focused on the immediate threats, the carved symbols in the factory floor have been glowing brighter, drawing power from the dimensional rift to fuel some larger working. If they succeed in expanding it, a B-class tear large enough to manifest coordinated military units would transform Beijing from a city with occasional supernatural incidents into an active battleground. The remaining shadow soldiers move to intercept me as I sprint toward the ritual circle, their formation designed to funnel me into overlapping kill zones. But Thunder Tiger mobility makes their tactical planning irrelevant. Lightning Step, Lightning Step, Lightning Step, a sequence of teleportations that carries me over their heads, around their flanking positions, and directly onto the ritual circle itself. The carved symbols burn my feet through my combat boots, but I channel Thunderpath power directly into the concrete floor. Electrical energy follows the carved channels like water following riverbeds, overloading whatever supernatural circuitry the Hyena Guild has created. The result exceeds my expectations. Instead of simply disrupting their ritual, my electrical interference creates a feedback loop that destabilizes the tier itself. Dimensional energy erupts in uncontrolled cascades, tearing apart the shadow soldiers and forcing the Hyena operatives to abandon their positions. Tear destabilizing, I shout through comms. Recommend immediate withdrawal. But even as I speak, I realize we have a bigger problem. The destabilizing tier isn't closing, it's expanding chaotically, threatening to tear a hole in reality large enough to swallow the entire factory complex. Warning. Dimensional cascade failure detected. Estimated time to critical expansion, 3 minutes. 3 minutes to prevent a disaster that would expose supernatural threats to Beijing's civilian population on a scale impossible to cover up. Lu Mei, I need options. Working on it. Her voice carries the focused intensity of someone calculating impossible odds. Wei Long, can fire suppression techniques seal a destabilizing tear? Not seal, but I can contain the expansion long enough for natural collapse. Do it, Zhang, clear the remaining hostiles and provide cover. The Hyena Guild operatives have regrouped behind makeshift barricades, apparently unconcerned about the dimensional catastrophe unfolding around them. Either they have an extraction plan we haven't identified, or they're fanatical enough to accept mutual destruction as an acceptable outcome. I don't wait to find out which. Lightning Step carries me over their barricades, while Storm Tiger forms flow seamlessly between defensive spirals and devastating strikes. The cybernetic-eyed woman gets off a shot that would have taken my head off 6 months ago, but Thunder Tiger reflexes make dodging gunfire feel like avoiding raindrops. Lightning palm to her solar plexus disrupts her cybernetic systems and drops her unconscious. Her teammates last approximately 10 seconds longer before succumbing to electrical attacks that their training never prepared them for. Hostiles neutralized, I report, then turn to help Wei Long with the tier containment. He's positioned himself directly beneath the dimensional rift, using his flamethrowers to create a cone of superheated plasma that somehow forces the chaotic energies back into stable patterns. The physics make no sense, but the results speak for themselves. The tear's expansion slows, then reverses. 30 more seconds. He shouts over the dimensional feedback. Then we need to clear the area before natural collapse. Tear stabilization successful. Dimensional cascade prevented. Recommend immediate evacuation. We don't need the recommendation. As soon as Wei Long's containment field forces the tier back to stable dimensions, all three of us sprint for the exits. The factory behind us fills with the sound of reality repairing itself, a noise like thunder played backwards, accompanied by flashes of light that exist in colors human eyes weren't designed to perceive. We're 200 meters away when the building implodes. Not structural collapse, but dimensional contraction, the space occupied by the factory suddenly deciding it no longer exists, leaving behind a perfectly spherical crater and absolutely no evidence that a major supernatural incident occurred. Well, Lu Mei says after we catch our breath, that was significantly more exciting than advertised. Wei Long checks his equipment for damage while keeping one eye on the crater. Hyena Guild operations are always more complex than they appear. We probably just prevented something that would have made international news. Speaking of which, I observe, what happens to them? I gesture toward the unconscious guild operatives we dragged clear of the implosion. Hunter Association has protocols for dealing with rogues, Lu Mei replies. Anonymous tip, crime scene evidence, let the authorities handle cleanup. Our involvement stays unofficial. It's a neat solution that preserves everyone's deniability while ensuring the responsible parties face consequences. Though I suspect, Hunter Association protocols for dealing with rogues involves considerably more than standard legal proceedings. Mission complete. B-class threat neutralized. Experience gained. Significant. Team combat proficiency increased. Rewards. Combat. Techniques observed. Tactical knowledge acquired. Professional network expanded. Payment. Wei Long asks with professional directness. Lu Mei produces a tablet and initiates 3 electronic transfers. 15,000 yuan each, plus hazard bonus for unexpected threat escalation. Monster parts from the Shadow Soldiers should be worth additional compensation when properly processed. My phone chimes with a payment notification that represents more money than I've ever seen in a single transaction. Combined with my arena winnings and minus recent purchases, I'm approaching genuine financial security for the first time in my adult life. But more importantly, I've just operated successfully as part of a professional supernatural team. The coordination, tactical flexibility, and mutual support demonstrated tonight represent capabilities I never could have developed alone. Team integration successful. Recommendation: pursue additional group operations for continued advancement. Future opportunities. I ask Lu Mei as we prepare to leave the site. Always. Hyena Guild has cells throughout China, and they're not the only rogue organization operating in the supernatural underworld. Her smile is sharp with predatory anticipation. Plus, after tonight's performance, I suspect you'll start receiving direct offers from other teams. Other teams. The idea both excites and concerns me. Every group operation increases my exposure to the supernatural community, making it harder to maintain the fiction of my mundane identity. But it also represents access to resources, knowledge, and advancement opportunities that solo cultivation can't provide. The tension between secrecy and progress continues to escalate. Give me a week to process tonight's events, I tell her. Then we can discuss next steps. As we part ways and I head home through Beijing's pre-dawn streets, I find myself calculating the distance I've traveled in just 2 weeks. From desperate construction worker practicing meditation in a cramped apartment to professional supernatural operative capable of disrupting dimensional rifts and neutralizing military-trained opponents. The progression is intoxicating, but it's also unsustainable without fundamental changes to my life structure. Boss Lou isn't going to accept much more absenteeism, and my neighbors are starting to ask questions about the strange electrical phenomena surrounding my apartment. Chapter 8. Blood and Ashes. 3 hours earlier, Hyena Guild Safe House, Chaoyang District. Li Wei stared at the tactical display showing the factory complex, his amber eyes reflecting the screen's glow like embers in a forge. The burns across his forearms pulsed with faint heat, a physical manifestation of the rage that had been building since his lieutenants reported the mission parameters. Explain to me again why we're maintaining an artificial tear for the Shadow Legion, he growled, his voice carrying the kind of barely contained violence that made subordinates choose their words carefully. Captain Zhao Lin, the cybernetically enhanced woman who served as his operations coordinator, pulled up additional files with mechanical precision. Payment is substantial, enough dimensional essence to fund guild operations for 6 months. Plus exclusive access to Shadow Soldier recruitment protocols. And the risks? Minimal, according to our intelligence. The factory is abandoned, the area is rarely patrolled, and Hunter Association response time to that sector averages 47 minutes. She paused, then added reluctantly, however, there have been reports of unusual spiritual signatures in the district. Unregistered practitioners, possibly. Li Wei's scarred face twisted into something resembling a smile. Though no one who knew him would call it friendly. Unregistered practitioners. You mean rogues like us? Unknown classification. Could be independents, could be government black ops, could be traditional cultivators operating outside association oversight. The guild master stood and walked to the window overlooking Beijing's sprawling urban landscape. Somewhere out there, people lived normal lives, working jobs they hated, worrying about rent money, pretending the monsters were someone else's problem. He tried that life once, before the Hunter Association destroyed everything he cared about. Tell me about the Shadow Legion contract again, he said without turning around. Zhao Lin's cybernetic eye flickered as she accessed encrypted files. They need staging grounds for what they're calling reconnaissance operations in our dimension. The artificial tier allows controlled deployment of small units without triggering official detection protocols. Reconnaissance for what? That information wasn't included in the contract. Li Wei's hands clenched into fists, flames dancing briefly between his fingers before he forced them back under control. He'd learned not to trust clients who withheld operational details, but the Shadow Legion paid in resources the Hyena Guild desperately needed. Dimensional essence wasn't just currency in the supernatural underworld, it was power made tangible. Processed correctly, it could enhance human capabilities beyond what natural awakening provided. His guild members needed every advantage they could get, especially since the association had marked them all for termination. Team assignments, he asked. Zhao Lin, Chen Ming, and Wang Fei for on-site operations. Myself as team leader, Chen as technical specialist, Wang as security. She hesitated before continuing. Guild master, regulations require I ask if you'll be taking direct command. Li Wei turned back to face her, and for a moment his amber eyes blazed with literal fire. No, this is a routine contract operation, not worthy of my personal attention. He paused, then added with deadly softness, unless something goes wrong. In which case, I'll be very interested in explanations. The threat was clear. Zhao Lin had served under him for 3 years, long enough to know that disappointing Li Wei was significantly more dangerous than facing most supernatural threats. Understood, Guild Master. Mission timeline. Initiate tonight. 6-hour rotation cycles as specified in the contract, with Shadow Soldier dispersal according to Legion protocols. Maintain the tier for 72 hours minimum, then evaluate continuation based on threat assessment and profit margins. As his lieutenant left to brief the mission team, Li Wei remained at the window, watching the city lights twinkle like distant stars. Beijing had changed since the first tiers opened, more fearful, more militarized, more willing to accept authoritarian control in exchange for promises of safety. The Hunter Association had positioned itself as humanity's savior, but Li Wei knew better. They were just another government agency, more concerned with maintaining power than actually protecting people. He'd seen their true face during the Guangzhou incident 2 years ago. His phone buzzed with an encrypted message from an unknown number, factory operation proceeding as planned. First deployment successful, will maintain contact, asterisk, Zhao Lin, reporting from the field. Professional as always, even when conducting operations that violated approximately 15 different international treaties. Li Wei poured himself a glass of baijiu and settled into his command chair to monitor the mission. Routine contract work rarely required his attention, but something about this job felt different. The Shadow Legion's unusual secrecy, the mysterious spiritual signatures in the area, the association's delayed response times, too many variables for his liking. His instincts had kept him alive through 6 years of guerrilla warfare against government forces. Tonight, those same instincts whispered warnings he couldn't quite interpret. Present time, factory complex. The mission was proceeding flawlessly until everything went to hell in approximately 30 seconds. Li Wei watched through Zhao Lin's helmet camera as the shadow soldiers deployed according to plan, dispersing through the factory with military precision. The ritual circle was functioning perfectly, maintaining the artificial tear with minimal energy expenditure. Even the dimensional readings showed optimal stability. Then the lightning struck. Contact rear. Zhao Lin's voice crackled through the communication system. Unknown hostile, lightning-based abilities, extreme mobility. Li Wei's cybernetic displays lit up with tactical information as his team's biometric monitors spiked into combat ranges. Heart rates elevated, adrenaline flowing, weapons firing, but something was wrong with the engagement patterns. Zhao Lin, report. How many hostiles? Unknown. Target is using rapid teleportation, electrical attacks are disrupting our sensor equipment. Chen is down, Wang is. The transmission cut to static. Li Wei was on his feet and moving before conscious thought caught up with instinct. His forearms blazed with heat as rage flooded his system, the familiar sensation of his berserker abilities awakening in response to threat stimuli. Emergency protocols active, he barked to the safe house's remaining personnel. Combat deployment in 5 minutes. Full tactical loadout, but even as he armed himself with his twin fire-forged axes, Li Wei was calculating the implications of what he'd witnessed. A single hostile had engaged 3 experienced guild operatives plus 6 shadow soldiers and achieved immediate tactical dominance. That level of capability suggested either high-level hunter or traditional cultivator, he muttered, strapping on his flame motif armor. Someone with real training, not association hackwork. The possibility both excited and concerned him. Traditional cultivation arts were supposedly extinct, wiped out during the government purges decades ago. If genuine practitioners were operating in Beijing, it changed everything about the supernatural power balance. His phone buzzed with another encrypted message, this one from a different source, factory operation compromised. Multiple hostiles, unknown capabilities. Recommend immediate extraction, asterisk, Chen Ming, his technical specialist. Still alive, apparently, though his recommendation for extraction suggested the situation had deteriorated beyond salvageable. Li Wei's amber eyes blazed with literal flames as his berserker abilities reached combat readiness. The burns on his forearms glowed like brands, and the temperature around him increased noticeably. When fully enraged, he could maintain this state for approximately an hour, more than enough time to extract his team and identify the threats. Motor pool, prep the combat transport. He commanded. Route to factory complex, maximum speed, weapons hot. The Hyena Guild's combat transport was a modified armored vehicle equipped with hunter-grade equipment and enough firepower to level a city block. Officially, it didn't exist. Practically, it represented Li Wei's answer to situations that required overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. As the vehicle's engines roared to life, he reviewed what he knew about the hostile. Lightning-based abilities suggested thunder path cultivation, a legendary art. Supposedly mastered by the Zhang family before their extinction. Rapid teleportation indicated advanced mobility techniques rarely seen outside military special forces. But it was the tactical coordination that concerned him most. According to Zhao Lin's final transmission, The hostile had neutralized multiple opponents with minimal effort while maintaining perfect positioning awareness. That level of combat effectiveness required years of training or supernatural enhancement. ETA to target site. He asked the driver. 12 minutes at current speed, Guild Master. 12 minutes to reach the factory, assess the threat, extract his people, and decide whether this represented opportunity or disaster. Li Wei's grip tightened on his axes as flames danced along their edges. The Hyena Guild had survived 3 years of government persecution through superior tactics, better equipment, and absolute willingness to escalate beyond what their enemies expected. Tonight would test whether those advantages remained sufficient. His phone buzzed again, this time with a message that made his blood freeze. Tear destabilizing. Dimensional cascade initiated. Recommend immediate area evacuation. Asterisk. Wang Fei, his security specialist. If the artificial tier was collapsing, it meant someone had not only neutralized his team but also possessed the technical knowledge to disrupt advanced dimensional engineering. Change of plans. Li Wei roared. Combat rescue, not extraction. Weapons free, maximum aggression. The transport's engine note changed to a howl as they accelerated beyond safety limits. Through the bulletproof windows, Beijing's lights blurred past like tracers in a night battle. Li Wei's flames intensified until the vehicle's interior felt like a furnace. His berserker abilities were reaching peak activation, flooding his system with strength, speed, and the kind of battle rage that turned ordinary humans into legendary warriors. Whoever had attacked his people was about to discover why they called him the Burning Blood Berserker. They arrived at the factory complex just in time to watch it implode. Not structural collapse, Li Wei had seen enough buildings fall to recognize the difference. This was dimensional contraction, space folding in on itself with mathematical precision. The kind of phenomenon that occurred when artificial tiers experienced catastrophic failure. Son of a bitch, he whispered, watching a perfectly spherical crater appear where the factory had stood moments before. The tactical displays showed no life signs within the affected area. Zhao Lin, Chen Ming, Wang Fei, 3 of his most experienced operatives, gone without even bodies to recover. But the thermal imaging showed 3 figures moving away from the crater at rapid pace. The hostiles, apparently unaffected by the dimensional collapse that had claimed his people. Li Wei's amber eyes blazed like miniature suns as rage flooded his system beyond anything he'd previously experienced. The burns on his forearms erupted in actual flames, and the combat transport's temperature rose to levels that would have killed unenhanced humans. Track them, he commanded through clenched teeth. I want identification, background, capabilities, and current location within 6 hours. Guild Master, the driver ventured carefully, the dimensional collapse would have eliminated all evidence. Official investigation will find nothing. I don't care about official investigation. Li Wei's voice carried the kind of promise that made smart people very nervous. 3 Hyena Guild operatives died tonight. Someone is going to pay for that in blood and fire. His phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Shadow Legion Command. Contract terminated due to operational failure. Payment voided. Do not attempt further contact. Asterisk. The Shadow Legion was cutting ties, abandoning the partnership now that the operation had failed catastrophically. Standard protocol for clients who valued deniability over loyalty. Li Wei deleted the message and began composing his own communications, to guild cells throughout China, to information brokers in the supernatural underworld, to anyone who might have intelligence about lightning-based cultivators operating in Beijing. The Hyena Guild had lost 3 veteran operatives and a lucrative contract in one night. Worse, they'd been outmaneuvered by opponents who remained completely unknown. But Li Wei hadn't survived 6 years of guerrilla warfare by accepting defeat gracefully. Tonight was a setback, not an ending. He would identify the hostiles. He would locate their base of operations. And then he would introduce them to the kind of systematic destruction that had earned his guild its reputation. Return to base, he ordered. Send alerts to all cells, priority intelligence gathering on unknown practitioners in Beijing area. Lightning-based abilities, advanced cultivation techniques, probable traditional training. As the transport pulled away from the crater, Li Wei stared back at the site where his people had died. His flames had dimmed to a steady burn, but the rage remained, cold now, calculated, infinitely more dangerous than hot fury. The unknown cultivators had won tonight's engagement. They would not survive the war that followed. After all, the Hyena Guild specialized in hunting prey that thought itself safe from predators. Someone just made this personal, he thought, watching Beijing's lights stream past the windows. They're about to discover what that costs. Asterisk. The hunt was about to begin. And Li Wei intended to enjoy every moment of it. Target acquired. Unknown lightning cultivator. Threat assessment. Extreme. Response authorization. Total war. The burning blood berserker was fully awakened now. And he was very, very angry. Chapter 9. The price of power. I haven't slept in 3 days. Not because I can't. Body refinement stage 3 allows me to function on minimal rest indefinitely, but because every time I close my eyes, I see the factory imploding. The perfect spherical crater where 3 human beings ceased to exist, erased by dimensional forces I triggered without fully understanding the consequences. The system calls it acceptable collateral damage in pursuit of mission objectives. My conscience has other terms for it. Host is experiencing post-combat psychological adjustment, the system notes as I pace around my apartment for the 100th time. This response pattern is normal following first confirmed kills against human opponents. They weren't just human opponents, I mutter, checking the locks on my door again. They were professional operatives with families, histories, people who cared about them. They were also hostile combatants engaging in illegal dimensional manipulation that threatened civilian populations. Host's actions prevented larger casualties. The system's logic is flawless and completely unsatisfying. Yes, I prevented a potential disaster. Yes, the Hyena Guild operatives were committing serious crimes. But justification doesn't erase the fact that I killed 3 people and watched them disappear into dimensional nothingness. My phone buzzes with a message from Boss Liu. Zhang, where the hell are you? 3rd day absent without notice. Call back or don't bother coming back at all. I stare at the text, trying to remember why my construction job once seemed important. The disconnect between hauling concrete and disrupting interdimensional criminal operations has become so vast I can barely comprehend how I once lived in both worlds simultaneously. Employment termination may be inevitable, the system observes. Host's advancement level makes mundane labor increasingly impractical. Impractical is one way to put it. Yesterday I accidentally crushed a door handle while opening my apartment, leaving finger-shaped dents in solid steel. This morning I had to consciously restrain my strength while making coffee, after the first pot exploded from excessive grip pressure on the handle. Stage 3 body refinement has enhanced my capabilities beyond what normal human society can accommodate. Soon I'll have to choose between pretending to be weak or abandoning the pretense entirely. The choice becomes academic when someone knocks on my door with the distinctive rhythm of military precision. 3 sharp raps, pause, 2 more, pause, single knock. Some kind of code, though not one I recognize. Zhang Wuji, a woman's voice calls through the steel door. We need to talk. I activate spiritual concealment and extend my senses beyond the apartment walls. 2 people in the hallway, both with the controlled breathing and disciplined posture that suggests combat training. Their spiritual signatures are muted but present, indicating enhancement through cultivation or hunter association procedures. Official visitors, then. The question is which branch of government has finally tracked down the mysterious lightning cultivator who's been disrupting supernatural operations throughout Beijing. Who's asking? I call back, while mentally calculating escape routes through my apartment's windows. Hunter Association Special Investigation Division. We're here regarding the factory incident 3 nights ago. Shit. The one government agency I most wanted to avoid has found me anyway. I consider my options. Fighting Hunter Association investigators would escalate this situation beyond any possibility of peaceful resolution. Running would confirm their suspicions and trigger a manhunt I probably couldn't evade indefinitely. That leaves cooperation, or at least the appearance of cooperation until I understand what they know. I open the door to find 2 people in understated business suits that don't quite conceal the weapons beneath. The woman who spoke is middle-aged with premature gray hair and the kind of alert eyes that suggest extensive field experience. Her male companion is younger, heavily muscled, with the distinctive scarring pattern that comes from repeated exposure to supernatural combat. Agent Lin Xiaohui, the woman introduces herself, showing credentials that look authentic. This is Agent Wang Chen. We're investigating unusual spiritual energy readings from the Chaoyang district incident. I work construction, I say, which is technically still true for another few hours. What does that have to do with me? Agent Lin's smile suggests she finds my deflection amusing. May we come in? This conversation would be better conducted privately. I step aside and let them enter, noting how both agents automatically scan my apartment for threats and escape routes. Professional paranoia, the same behavioral pattern Lu Mei demonstrated during our first meeting. Agent Wang's eyes linger on the scorch marks my lightning palm practice has left on the concrete walls. Agent Lin notices the reinforcement work I've done to prevent my enhanced strength from accidentally damaging the apartment structure. Interesting living arrangements, she observes. Most construction workers don't need to fireproof their homes. Electrical problems with the wiring, I lie smoothly. Old building, safety first. Of course. She settles onto my couch without invitation, while Agent Wang positions himself near the door, not blocking it, but close enough to respond if I try to leave suddenly. Tell me, Mr. Zhang, what do you know about the factory explosion in Sector 7 3 nights ago? Nothing. I was home sleeping after a long day at work. Sleeping, Agent Lin repeats. Can anyone verify that, Mrs. Chen next door? She complains about everything, would definitely have mentioned if I was making noise. Agent Wang speaks for the first time. What kind of construction work do you do? General labor, concrete pours, rebar installation, basic structural work. And your employer would confirm you worked a full day 3 nights ago. The trap is subtle but obvious once I recognize it. They've already spoken to Boss Liu, learned about my recent absenteeism, probably obtained copies of my work schedule. This entire conversation is designed to catch me in lies that justify more intensive investigation. You could ask him, I say carefully, but I've been having some personal issues lately. Medical problems. What kind of medical problems? Agent Lin's tone remains conversational, but her eyes have sharpened with interest. Warning. Interrogation techniques suggest extensive background investigation already completed. Recommend partial truth disclosure to maintain credibility. The system is right. They know more than they're revealing, which means deflection and lies will only dig me deeper into trouble. Unusual reactions to stress, I say finally. Electrical sensitivity, muscle coordination problems, difficulty controlling my strength. I've been seeing specialists. It's technically accurate while omitting the supernatural aspects. Agent Lin makes notes on her tablet, apparently accepting the explanation. These symptoms, Agent Wang continues, when did they first appear? Few weeks ago, around the time the tears started manifesting more frequently. Agent Lin and Wang exchange glances, the kind of meaningful look that suggests my answer matches information they already possess. Mr. Zhang, Agent Lin says, I'm going to be direct with you. We have evidence that someone with lightning-based supernatural abilities was present at the factory incident. Someone who may have prevented a significant disaster. The shift from interrogation to recruitment is jarring. They're not here to arrest me, they're here to offer me a job. I don't know what you're talking about, I maintain, though my tone probably betrays my uncertainty. 3 Hyena Guild operatives were maintaining an illegal dimensional rift, Agent Wang explains. Someone with advanced combat training and electrical manipulation abilities neutralized the threat and prevented what could have been a citywide catastrophe. Sounds like whoever did it deserves a medal, not investigation. They do, Agent Lin agrees. Which is why we'd like to offer them Hunter Association registration and full legal protection for their activities. The offer hangs in the air like a loaded weapon. Hunter Association registration would legitimize my supernatural abilities, provide access to resources and training I can't obtain independently, and protect me from legal consequences for my vigilante activities. It would also place me under government oversight, subject to association missions and regulations, monitored constantly by people who might not appreciate my independent approach to problem solving. Hypothetically, I say, what would such registration involve? Power assessment, skill classification, training integration with existing hunter teams. Agent Lin's tone becomes more businesslike. Starting salary equivalent to AC class hunter, approximately 40,000 yuan monthly, plus hazard pay and mission bonuses. 40,000 yuan per month. More than I make in 4 months at construction. Combined with my underground earnings, enough to afford a lifestyle that matches my actual capabilities. And the obligations: 20 hours monthly mission commitment, availability for emergency response, participation in ongoing training programs. Agent Wang pauses, then adds, plus cooperation with certain special investigations that require your particular skill set. What kind of special investigations? Rogue supernatural organizations, illegal dimensional manipulation, traditional cultivation practitioners operating outside official oversight. Agent Lin's eyes never leave my face as she delivers this last point. They know, maybe not everything, but enough to understand I'm not a typical awakened hunter. The question is whether they view traditional cultivation as a threat to eliminate or a resource to exploit. Analysis suggests recruitment rather than elimination intent, the system notes. Hunter Association benefits may outweigh restrictions for current advancement stage. I need time to think about it, I tell them. Of course, Agent Lin says, standing smoothly. But don't take too long. The Hyena Guild doesn't forget losses, and operating without official protection makes you vulnerable to retaliation. She hands me a business card with her contact information and a QR code that probably links to official Hunter Association registration forms. One more thing, Agent Wong adds as they prepare to leave. The factory incident wasn't an isolated case. We've identified at least 6 similar operations throughout China, all connected to the same criminal network. Someone with your capabilities could help us shut them down permanently. After they leave, I sit in my apartment staring at the business card and trying to process the implications. The Hunter Association knows about my abilities, wants to recruit me, and is offering legitimacy in exchange for cooperation. But they also know about the Hyena Guild's broader operations, which suggests the factory incident was part of something much larger. If I accept their offer, I become part of a war between government forces and rogue supernatural organizations. If I decline, I remain vulnerable to retaliation from criminals who have every reason to hunt me down. My phone rings. Lu Mei's number. Zhang, we have a problem, she says without preamble. Word is spreading about the factory job. Someone leaked information about our involvement, and now the Hyena Guild is actively hunting for us. How actively? They've put bounties on our heads. Professional rates, enough money to interest serious operators throughout the supernatural underworld. Bounties. The Hyena Guild is escalating from criminal enterprise to personal vendetta, which means nowhere in Beijing is safe for me anymore. Recommendations? I ask. 3 options. Run, leave Beijing, establish new identity, hope they eventually forget about us. Fight, gather resources and allies, take the war to them before they find us. Or, she pauses. Accept official protection. Hunter Association registration makes you a harder target. The same 3 choices I've been considering, stated with Lu Mei's characteristic directness. Each option has consequences that will fundamentally alter the trajectory of my life. Decision point reached, the system observes. Host's choice will determine advancement pathway for foreseeable future. I look around my cramped apartment, at the scorch marks from cultivation practice and the reinforcements needed to contain my growing strength. This space has been my sanctuary, but it's also a prison, a place where I pretended to be something I'm no longer capable of being. The construction worker identity is dead. The only question is what replaces it. I pick up Agent Lin's business card and dial her number. Agent Lin, this is Zhang Wuji, I'd like to discuss that registration you mentioned. Her response is immediate. Excellent choice, Mr. Zhang. Can you be at Hunter Association headquarters tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.? I'll be there. After I hang up, I text Boss Lu, medical issues require extended leave. Sorry for the short notice. His response arrives within minutes. Don't bother coming back. Position has been filled. I delete the message without emotion. That chapter of my life is over, ended by forces beyond my control and choices I made pursuing power. Tomorrow I become an official hunter, with all the benefits and obligations that entails. Tonight, I have 16 hours to prepare for whatever tests and evaluations the association will require. Registration confirmed. Beginning new advancement phase. Professional hunter integration. Warning. Association oversight may restrict certain cultivation practices. Recommend establishing backup development pathways. The system's warning is well taken. Hunter Association registration offers protection and resources, but also surveillance and control. I'll need to be careful about revealing the full extent of my capabilities, especially the traditional cultivation aspects they might find threatening. But I've made my choice. The Hyena Guild wants war, and I intend to give them one, backed by government resources and official legitimacy. The grind continues, but the battlefield has changed. Time to see how Thunder Tiger cultivation performs under official scrutiny. After all, grinding never hurt anyone. Even when it involves joining the very organization your ancestors once fled from. Especially then. New phase. Hunter Association integration. Objective. Maintain advancement while navigating institutional politics. Warning. Trust no one completely. Power corrupts all organizations eventually. The hunt continues. But now I'm hunting with different partners, for different prey, under very different rules. Time to learn what those rules really are. Chapter 10. The Sovereign's Court. The Hunter Association headquarters rises from Beijing's Haidian district like a crystalline mountain, its 40-story structure gleaming with materials that exist somewhere between architectural engineering and supernatural construction. The building seems to pulse with barely contained energy, and my enhanced senses detect spiritual signatures so numerous and powerful they create a constant background hum of barely controlled potential. I arrive at 8:45 a.m., 15 minutes early for my appointment with Agent Lin. The lobby bustles with activity, hunters in various stages of gear preparation, administrative personnel managing supernatural bureaucracy, and what appears to be a group of foreign diplomats discussing something in urgent whispers. Mr. Zhang, Agent Lin appears at my shoulder with the silent efficiency of someone trained in supernatural fieldwork. Punctual, good sign for hunter material. She leads me through security checkpoints that scan for everything from conventional weapons to dimensional anomalies. The scanners pause over my concealed dimensional crystal, but Agent Lin's clearance codes override whatever alerts the system generates. Standard processing, she explains as we ride an elevator that moves too smoothly for normal physics. Power assessment, psychological evaluation, medical examination, and administrative integration. Should take most of the day. The elevator opens onto the 15th floor, revealing corridors lined with what look like viewing windows into testing chambers. Through the reinforced glass, I catch glimpses of hunters, demonstrating abilities that defy rational explanation, a woman generating miniature tornadoes, a man who appears to be phasing through solid matter, someone surrounded by floating geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. Testing wing, Agent Lin notes. We'll start here, then move up to the administrative levels for paperwork and final approval. She leads me to testing chamber 7, a space roughly the size of a basketball court with walls that shimmer with energy-dampening fields. A technician in a white coat greets us with professional efficiency. Standard power assessment protocol, he explains, consulting a tablet. We'll start with basic physical capabilities, then progress through supernatural abilities. The chamber can withstand Class A threats, so don't worry about holding back. For the next 3 hours, I demonstrate the extent of my capabilities while trying to conceal their true nature. Lightning palm techniques become electrical manipulation. Lightning step is recorded as short-range teleportation. The integration of Thunder Tiger forms is carefully presented as enhanced combat reflexes, rather than traditional cultivation mastery. The technicians take detailed measurements of my spiritual energy output, reaction times, and combat effectiveness against increasingly sophisticated training dummies. But I can feel them probing for something deeper, searching for capabilities I'm not revealing. Performance assessment. Sufficient to confirm C-class rating without revealing advanced traditional techniques, the system notes. Recommend maintaining current power demonstration levels until trust is established. After testing comes the psychological evaluation, conducted by a middle-aged woman whose spiritual signature suggests some form of empathic enhancement. Dr. Chen Mei asks probing questions about my motivations, moral framework, and willingness to follow orders under stress. What drives you to help others? She asks, making notes that I suspect record more than my verbal responses. Experience with powerlessness, I answer honestly. Knowing what it feels like to be unable to protect yourself or others. And how do you feel about taking orders from government authorities? This question feels loaded with implications about traditional cultivator attitudes toward official oversight. Context matters. Reasonable orders from legitimate authority, fine. Unreasonable orders that harm innocents, problematic. Dr. Chen's empathic senses probe at the edges of my emotional responses, but my cultivation provides natural mental defenses that frustrate detailed analysis. She makes additional notes, apparently accepting my answers while noting areas for future observation. The medical examination reveals what I expected. My physiology has been fundamentally altered by cultivation advancement. Bone density, muscle fiber composition, nervous system conductivity, all enhanced beyond baseline human parameters. Unusual adaptation patterns, drive. Lu observes, reviewing the scan results. Your enhancements are more integrated than typical awakening cases. How long have you been experiencing supernatural abilities? Few weeks, I lie smoothly. Started with basic electrical sensitivity, evolved rapidly after exposure to tear radiation. It's a plausible explanation that doesn't require revealing the traditional cultivation background. Dr. Lu accepts it while making notes about accelerated adaptation syndrome. By afternoon, I'm escorted to the administrative levels for final processing. The 35th floor houses the Hunter Association's Operational Command Center, A vast space filled with holographic displays showing terror activity worldwide, communication centers coordinating international supernatural response, and what appears to be a situation room for major crisis management. Impressive, I comment to Agent Lin. Surface level only, she replies. The real command and control happens higher up. We continue upward, past floors dedicated to research and development, international liaison offices, and training facilities that extend the building's functional space through dimensional manipulation. By the time we reach the 38th floor, the architecture has transitioned from merely impressive to subtly supernatural. Administrative processing, Agent Lin explains, leading me to an office where a clerk processes my official hunter registration with bureaucratic efficiency that somehow feels mystically significant. Congratulations, the clerk says, handing me an ID card that pulses with embedded spiritual energy. You are now officially registered as Zhang Wuji, C-Class Hunter, Electrical Specialization. Your handler will contact you within 48 hours with mission assignments. C-Class rating, respectable without being attention-grabbing, allowing room for apparent advancement while concealing my true capabilities. One more stop, Agent Lin says. The President wants to meet you personally. The President, head of the Chinese Hunter Association, one of the most powerful supernatural practitioners in Asia, and according to rumors, someone whose abilities transcend normal classification systems. The elevator continues upward to floors that don't appear on building schematics. Here, the architecture becomes increasingly ethereal, walls that exist as suggestions rather than barriers, corridors that stretch further than geometric space should allow, lighting that comes from sources I can't identify. Psychic architecture, Agent Lin explains, noting my confusion. Reality becomes more flexible in the President's presence. We arrive at a reception area that feels like standing inside a classical Chinese palace transported across dimensions. Traditional architecture flows seamlessly with impossible spatial configurations, creating an environment that honors ancient aesthetics while embracing supernatural possibilities. The receptionist, a young man whose eyes glow with subtle golden light, announces our arrival. The President will see you now. The office beyond defies easy description. It's simultaneously a modern executive suite and the throne room of an ancient Chinese emperor, existing in multiple architectural states that somehow don't conflict with each other. But it's the figure seated behind the desk that captures my attention completely. Wang Gongjin, the Qi helmet realm of King Gong, embodies authority in ways that transcend mere political position. The ethereal golden helmet that phases around his head creates patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. His presence fills the room with psychic weight that makes my cultivation-enhanced senses struggle to process the sheer depth of power he represents. Zhang Wuji, he says, and his voice carries harmonics that resonate through dimensions I didn't know existed. The mysterious lightning cultivator who has been causing such interesting disruptions throughout Beijing. President Wang, I reply, offering a respectful bow that feels appropriate for reasons I don't fully understand. Please, sit. He gestures to a chair that materializes from ambient Qi energy. Agent Lin has provided your assessment results. C-Class rating, electrical specialization, rapid advancement from recent awakening. His golden eyes study me with intensity that suggests he sees far more than surface appearances. But tell me, Mr. Zhang, what do you know about the structure of our organization? Very little, I admit. Only what I've observed today. Then allow me to educate you. The office around us shifts, walls becoming transparent to reveal holographic displays showing organizational charts that extend across multiple dimensions of authority. The Chinese Hunter Association operates on principles derived from traditional administrative philosophy, adapted for supernatural realities, Wang explains. At the foundation level, we have approximately 50,000 registered hunters across all classifications. The display shows a complex hierarchy of hunters organized by capability and specialization. F-Class Hunters. Basic supernatural sensitivity, primarily support roles. E-Class Hunters. Limited combat abilities, patrol and reconnaissance. D-Class Hunters. Moderate combat effectiveness, standard monster suppression. C-Class Hunters. Advanced combat capabilities, specialized threat response. B-Class Hunters. Elite operatives, major incident coordination. A-Class Hunters. Strategic assets, regional command authority. S-Class Hunters. National treasures, crisis resolution specialists. Above the standard classifications, Wang continues, we have special administrative hunters who operate outside normal hierarchies due to unique capabilities or political considerations. The display zooms in on the association's command structure. Regional commands. Asterisk asterisk 23 provincial divisions, each headed by A-class or higher administrators. Special Operations Division. Handles sensitive missions requiring political deniability. Research and Development Bureau. Investigates supernatural phenomena and develops countermeasures. International Liaison Office. Coordinates with foreign hunter organizations. Strategic Reserve Command. Elite forces for national-level threats. At the apex, Wang says, and the display shows a single figure surrounded by advisors, sits the presidential administration, myself and the Council of Sovereigns, each responsible for different aspects of national supernatural security. The council appears to consist of 7 individuals, each representing different specializations. Military Liaison. Coordinates with conventional armed forces. Intelligence Director. Manages supernatural espionage and counterintelligence. Research Chancellor. Oversees technological and mystical development. Diplomatic Administrator. Handles foreign supernatural relations. Internal Security Chief. Monitors domestic supernatural threats. Economic Controller. Manages the supernatural economy and resource allocation. Cultural Preservation Minister. Protects traditional knowledge and practices. Each council member operates at S-class level minimum, Wang explains, with specialized capabilities that make traditional power rankings somewhat meaningless. Where do I fit in this structure? I ask. Currently, Standard C-class hunter attached to Beijing Regional Command, available for mission assignment based on operational requirements. His golden eyes narrow slightly. But your assessment results suggest capabilities that may warrant re-evaluation as you gain experience. The office shifts back to its default configuration as Wang dismisses the organizational displays. Now, Mr. Zhang, let me be more direct. Your electrical abilities show integration patterns consistent with traditional cultivation methods. Your combat effectiveness exceeds typical awakening cases. Your psychological profile suggests extensive prior training in meditation and energy manipulation. I maintain neutral expression while internally calculating escape routes and combat options. His psychic presence is overwhelming, but Thunder Tiger techniques might allow limited resistance if this becomes hostile. These observations, Wang continues, are not accusations. They are recognitions. Traditional cultivation arts represent humanity's original supernatural development, predating the tiers by millennia. Such knowledge is valuable, not threatening. President Wang, you may speak freely here, Mr. Zhang. This office exists partially outside normal reality, providing privacy from surveillance or interference. His psychic presence somehow becomes reassuring rather than threatening. The Hunter Association includes practitioners of many backgrounds. We have former military personnel, academic researchers, religious mystics, and yes, traditional cultivators whose families preserved ancient knowledge. The tension I hadn't realized I was carrying releases slightly. My family's techniques are incomplete fragments. Nothing like organized cultivation traditions. Even fragments have value, especially when wielded by someone who understands their potential. Wang leans forward, his ethereal helmet shifting into sharper focus. Let me share something with you, Mr. Zhang. The modern Hunter Association was built on foundations laid by traditional practitioners who survived the cultural purges of the 1960s and 1970s. This is news to me. The system notes no data about association connections to historical cultivation traditions. My predecessor, the association's founder, was trained in Taoist internal alchemy before awakening as a psychic specialist during the first-tier manifestations. The integration of ancient wisdom and modern supernatural development created our current organizational philosophy. Wang stands and walks to a window that shows views of Beijing that exist from multiple temporal perspectives simultaneously. We don't suppress traditional cultivation, Mr. Zhang. We integrate it. Your Thunder Path techniques, combined with official resources and training, could develop into something unprecedented. What do you want from me? I ask directly. Service to the greater good, as with any hunter. But also, patience. The supernatural world is evolving rapidly, and practitioners who understand both traditional and modern approaches will be crucial for humanity's long-term survival. He returns to his seat, and the golden helmet's glow intensifies slightly. Your registration includes standard C-class mission assignments, but you'll also be flagged for special operations that require your particular capabilities. Agent Lin will serve as your handler, providing guidance as you adapt to official operations. And my training methods. Continue them. Develop them. The association provides resources for cultivation advancement, meditation chambers, spiritual energy concentrators, training partners with complementary abilities. Wang's smile carries genuine warmth despite the psychic power radiating from him. We want our hunters to reach their full potential, regardless of how that potential manifests. The meeting concludes with administrative details and scheduling for follow-up evaluations. But as I prepare to leave, Wang adds one final comment. Mr. Zhang, the Hyena Guild situation will require delicate handling. They have resources and connections that make them dangerous opponents, but they also operate outside legal protections. Official hunter status provides options for resolution that weren't available to you as an independent. He knows about the bounties. Of course he does. The association's intelligence network probably tracks major supernatural criminal activities in real time. Recommendations? I ask. Trust your handler's guidance. Develop your official relationships. And remember, you're no longer facing these threats alone. As Agent Lin escorts me back to ground level, I process the implications of everything I've learned. The Hunter Association isn't just a government response to supernatural threats, it's a continuation of China's traditional cultivation heritage, adapted for modern realities and international cooperation. My registration provides legitimacy, resources, and protection, but also places me within a larger framework of supernatural politics and organizational objectives. The balance between independence and institutional loyalty will require careful navigation. Hunter Association integration successful, the system notes. Access to official resources unlocked. Warning: organizational surveillance now active. Recommend maintaining operational security regarding system presence and advanced cultivation stages. The warning is well taken. Wang Gongjin's psychic abilities probably detected more about my true nature than his words revealed, but he chose diplomatic inclusion over interrogation. That suggests the association values capability over complete transparency, at least for now. My phone chimes with a message from Agent Lin. Congratulations on successful registration. First mission briefing tomorrow, 0800 hours. Welcome to the Hunter Association, Mr. Zhang. Official hunter status, financial security, legal protection, access to resources and training that could accelerate my advancement beyond what independent cultivation allows. But also surveillance, mission obligations, and integration into government objectives that may not always align with personal goals. The grind continues, but the parameters have changed fundamentally. I'm no longer a rogue cultivator operating in society's shadows. I'm an official supernatural asset with responsibilities to match my capabilities. Time to see what Thunder Tiger cultivation can accomplish within institutional frameworks designed to channel and control supernatural power. After all, grinding never hurt anyone. Even when it involves navigating bureaucratic hierarchies that exist across multiple dimensions of reality. Especially then. Phase complete. Official integration achieved. New objective. Balance institutional advancement with personal cultivation goals. Warning: higher powers are now watching. Proceed with appropriate caution. The hunt continues, but I'm no longer hunting alone.